Proudfoot is now 2 for 2 on wins, but Spies has been following him home diligently, and that's keeping things tight for the time being. While Steven does need to eventually start beating him on the track, ensuring that any mistake from Brandon is costly may prove valuable down the line. Let's see what Knoxville holds for them today as we get ready to watch round 3 of the Bootleg Racing League's Dirt Street Stock Series. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing Channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is DJ Clark. Behind the scenes is our director, Sean Crackers Ambrose, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We may have arrived at the sprint car capital of the world, but for one night, it will be the center for dirt street stocks. Let's head to our track guide to learn more about it.
You are looking at the sprint car capital of the world, Knoxville Raceway. Located in Knoxville, Iowa, 45 minutes southeast of Des Moines, Knoxville needs little introduction to racing fans around the globe. Home to the Knoxville Nationals, this half-mile clay oval is known for its blistering speeds despite the relative lack of banking. While the corners here are angled just 8 degrees, Knoxville's wide corners and fast surface have seen the World of Outlaws cars lap this track in 14.4 seconds, averaging speeds around 125 miles per hour. Virtual drivers love Knoxville because it's a multi-lane track that plays into drivers of many different track preferences. Like a slick track, well, you're going to find a home on the inside line to the middle of the track, which is sure to slick off quick in a main event. Makes for great slide job opportunities as well. Want to run up on the cushion? Well, there's plenty of grip to be found up there, and high-speed runs can be made on the exit of both corners here. It results in some of the best side-by-side, back-and-forth racing on the iRacing service. And Knoxville's not just for sprint car fans. Hop into a late model, take a few laps around here. You'll find a car perfectly equipped to handle the high speeds and slicked-off nature of Knoxville. But be careful in the big cars. Both the late model and street stock have a penchant for hopping the berm on the inside of the track. And while there's not necessarily a wall for you to catch down there, that high berm will spin you around before you can blink. The Knoxville Nationals, as we mentioned, run here annually in August. It pays $1 million to the winner. Knoxville Raceway, also home to the National Sprint Car Hall of Fame and Museum. You can see that just off of turn number 2. Well, that's our look at Knoxville Raceway. What do you say we line them up 4 wide and let the green flag fly?
Well, DJ, we are in Knoxville, but we have to remind our audience, this is not Knoxville, Tennessee. This is in Iowa. So what is it going to be like with these street stocks here at this flat oval?
Well, Joe, this is a half-mile circuit, so it's one of the longer circuits that the Street Stock Series will tackle this year. And with that, it all comes down to speed and momentum. Really, really difficult in these cars to get them back up to speed when you slow down. We saw at Weed Sport last week just how tricky it was to get it turned down into that turn 1. Well, you don't really have that problem here. It's a very wide open track all the way around. These corners are almost double apexes. But the thing is that I think you're going to see a lot of guys ride in the middle or high lines throughout the course of the race, because getting down to the low line, brushing on that berm like you saw in our GSRC lap guide, really, really difficult to do because you have to get the car slowed and then accelerate again. And as we've talked about before, these cars have the worst power to weight ratio on the dirt side of iRacing. So very, very tricky to get them back up to speed. Much easier and much faster to just keep that momentum going, riding the cushion on the high side.
We'll keep an eye on that and see how the line evolves as the day goes on. Before we get to the line itself, though, we got to take a look at our championship, and after 2 rounds, Proudfoot winning both of them, he is, of course, naturally leading the points. But look at Steven Spies. He's been making sure that he is there or thereabouts and following him home, as I mentioned, in second place each time. So it's only 6 points between these two. Now, Justin Morton, who tends to be fast here or there, well, he's got some ground to make up at 24 points back. In fact, he's probably looking in his mirror more so because of J.R. Shepard, a single point behind him in 4th place. Chris Davis, running in the mid-pack, is still rounding out our top 5 in the driver's standings, and we'll see if he can try and improve that as the season goes on, because there's still plenty more to go. Let's look at today in particular, though. What are the race details for this round here, DJ?
Well, Joe, as you said, we are going to be driving the dirt street stocks here in the third of 11 rounds. Now, it is a heat race format. The top 3 from each heat will advance. Now, the heats will be based on a 5-minute qualifying that everybody will go out and run single car. There will be a B main for everyone that does not make the A main on advancement through the heats, and then the A main will run at about 40 laps here. Yellows only during that A main. Fixed setup, so everybody's going to be running the same thing, and it is 24 cars maximum in the feature, currently sitting at a field of 17 though, so it doesn't look like we're going to have any true bumping.
Yeah, relatively small fields, and especially for a big wide track like this, should give them lots of space to try and battle with one another. The question is who can keep up with the front runners, which, as we finish up the last of our warm-up here, right now Billy Northcutt is our quickest. We're riding with Chris Davis, who sits behind him on the timing sheets by about a 10th. And I'm already starting to see a slicked up line forming around the bottom around here. So that probably will continue to work its way upwards towards the outside, as we heard DJ talking about the middle and high lines tending to come in from our past experiences with coverage here. Beautiful sunset in Iowa with track temperatures way down cool at 74 degrees Fahrenheit, so should keep that moisture in and allow the drivers to find speed as the race goes on. As we now hop on board with Justin Morton, who I was talking about there, in third in the points currently. He is 7th on the track right now. What do you think the passing is going to look like, though, DJ? Because we keep saying that this is a nice wide track, but you talked about how that line keeps going up towards the high side. It runs in the middle. Is it going to be possible to pass, or is it going to be pretty tough trying to get underneath and by someone?
Well, Joe, and the simple answer, yes. It's going to be difficult, but passing is going to be possible, and the best way to do it, I think, is going to be the slider. Dive the car in low, keep the momentum up, let it ride out to the cushion, and let it catch, and then power off the middle of the corner. I think that's going to be the best way to get by. It's going to be tricky, though, and it's going to require a lot of faith in the driver you're passing. That is the only way a good slide job can work, is if both of you have faith. Obviously, if you're the one getting passed, you've got to look for that crossover move to try to get the inside line back on him through the next corner.
It makes me wonder if it'll be similar to what we saw in the previous round when we were at Weed Sport. You recall that, I think, was it Chris Davis that we saw? Or was it Ryan Seneca? I'm trying to remember. We had a driver that on the very first heat that he ran, he went from the pole to the end of the field because of an unfortunate incident on the first lap, and wound up having to gave himself more work than he needed, really, as we watch Billy Northcutt continue to circle around. So I'm wondering if we'll see a similar situation where you really want that track position and not to put yourself in a difficult spot.
Yeah, I think that's definitely going to help you. And if you recall back to last year, we saw Brandon Proudfoot really dominate some of these big wide open tracks. I believe it was Knoxville last year, where he was running counter to the entire field. He was able to find just a little strip of moisture down on the inside and run it there, absolutely destroying any of my theories. So that is a very distinct possibility as well, that somebody's just going to be able to find some time to get around here. But Joe, I do want to make mention, I don't see Steven Spies on the timing tower right now. Doesn't look like he's here tonight.
Ooh, well, that's going to change the dynamic for sure. So looks like Spies is going to take a hit, because I don't think they have drop weeks. Let me double check on that points, make sure I'm not getting false information there. No drop weeks we're hearing confirmed. Didn't think that was the case this season. So, yeah, that will certainly set him back. And considering Billy Northcutt has looked pretty darn quick in the first 2 rounds, and honestly, Brandon Proudfoot, rather, not Billy Northcutt. Brandon Proudfoot's been looking pretty fast, and right now he sits 3rd in the warm-up. I imagine that today is going to be a big points haul for the number 22. We will get the qualifying going here in just a moment. The warm-up will wrap up, and then they'll have 4 laps in that qualifying, each with a track to themselves. It's solo qualifying here in this series to try and set their fastest time, and that will organize who goes where in those heat races. It's not for the A main, it's just for the heat races. And obviously the drivers will have to sort themselves out from there, see who's got the speed to try and get a good run to put themselves into the A main immediately. Just 15 more seconds here, and we are still at 17 drivers, so everybody will make it to that feature race if anybody was concerned about their favorite not managing to work their way in. And Northcutt looks like he will be the one to wrap things up with that fastest time in the warm-up. So keep an eye on him here today in the qualifying. Any special tips or tricks if you were out there for the qualifying, DJ, that you would be looking to do?
Well, truthfully, I would take the first lap, Joe, as just kind of a reconnaissance lap. I wouldn't try to go for broke. I would just sort of feel it out, figure out where the best line is going to be, where I think I'm going to be able to take the most speed, and then really, really go for it on the second and third laps. And the biggest thing to keep in mind is I think you're going to see a lot of drivers trying to maximize their speed out of turn 4 to start a flying lap. Not necessarily taking the fastest line through there, but having the highest top speed when they cross the timing stripe.
All right, so we'll see who follows that advice, as we now have a few of them out and running on their qualifying laps. I see Morton already out there waiting for Northcutt to get onto the track. Same thing with Proudfoot, who's going to be the first to set a time. Got Chris Davis here as he comes around onto the front stretch, past the flag stand. Still waiting for that first one, and it is going to be Davis. Sets a marker at a 23.943, and he immediately pulls over. Gary Clinton's going to go slightly quicker than him.
Oh, and Robbie Robinson really putting in a good time there of a 23.686, so that's a very, very good lap for Robbie. Brendan Myers putting one in as well, dipping under the 24 mark. Here comes Chris Hazel up across the line with a 24 dead. That will better his time ever so slightly. Gary Clinton coming across the line again. He is not going to be able to go faster. Robinson still sitting top. Jason Best, though, able to take second.
Now we've got guys like Northcutt out there. J.R. Shepard is the only one who has not taken to the track yet. Robinson still holding the top spot by a 1/10 of a second and some change. As we watch Seneker currently sitting in 13th, jump up to 11th briefly. Now he's back down to 12th. Joe Segala still yet to put one on the board. Now he gets it down with a 24 flat, and that'll put him in 14th.
And Joe, Billy Northcutt putting in a mega time there of a 23.5. Really, really good run there. You see Ron Snyder unable to improve. Same story with Ryan Seneker. This track looking like it's starting to favor certain drivers. Here comes Brendan Myers across the line. Oh, he misses out by 0.07 of a second.
Man, so Billy Northcutt now ahead of Robbie Robinson, who's finished his qualifying. So Northcutt is able to improve for his final 2 laps, but we're watching Proudfoot, who is a ways down compared to what we're used to here. His 3rd lap coming around with a 23.904 as his quickest. He's 0.3 off of the pole time. Let's see what lap 3 holds. A 23.7. That's good enough for 4th place, but still not the top spot.
Very, very surprising to see Brandon not at the top of his game here like we're used to seeing. Northcutt coming across the line with a 24 dead, so he is unable to improve. Here comes Segala also with the 24 dead. He is unable to improve, about a 1/10 off. This track really starting to slick in. Justin Morton there, 0.3 off his top time. J.R. Shepard not able to go any faster than that 23.7.
Oh, and Proudfoot does improve by a few hundredths. That'll get him ahead of J.R. Shepard, put him back into 3rd. Shepard, though, still has 2 laps compared to Proudfoot, who is now finished. So J.R. coming around with his final 2. Can he demote him? Lap 3 is going to be 23.896. That's still slower for him.
And you see him taking that middle line, just trying to get the front tires into that slicked up area in the middle. Billy Northcutt now trying to see if he can improve on himself. He is not able to, 0.4 slower than his best. Here comes Justin Morton across the line. Justin in 13th. He's going to want to be doing a lot better than that.
But unfortunately, he's finished all 4 of his laps, so Morton is not going to have one count, whereas J.R. Shepard also does not improve. Stays with a 23.872. that's going to be everybody able to set a new time in our qualifying, because Gary Clinton's the only one, but he is currently sitting in pit lane and seems to be happy with his 11th spot. By the way, an update for those wondering, it was Kilgore, I was thinking, who had the incident at the very start of the first heat race and flipped his car, throwing away a pole position. There you can see the number 6 of Clinton sitting on pit lane right now. As even though he has qualifying laps, he does not have enough time from this point out to even go and claim them for the remainder of this qualifying, which means our top spot instead will go to Billy Northcutt in the double odd. That finishes our qualifying and will take us to our first heat in just a few moments as we wait for the cars to grid up. Going to be 6 in this first heat, and it'll be Billy Northcutt starting on the pole with J.R. Shepard in the second position. And in third, it will be Jason Best, DJ, who rounds out the top half.
Brennan Myers will be starting off in fourth, and behind him will be Justin Morton, followed by Ryan Seneker.
Waiting for everybody to work their way out to the grid here. They'll get 2 pace laps, and then we run for 6 very quick laps, and the top 3 will advance into the feature race. So third is the bubble spot. You want to be that or higher. Although if you are in third, certainly reason to be keeping an eye on your mirrors to see if the driver behind is getting aggressive.
It certainly is. And speaking of aggressive drivers, I'm going to be keeping my eye on Justin Morton in this heat, Joe. Starting off in 5th, that's a pretty far down from what we're normally seeing Justin start off in. So I think he's definitely going to want to be moving on forward. Northcutt and Shepard, I think, are going to be very, very hard to beat, but Justin's going to have his eyes on Jason Best and Brennan Myers ahead of him.
Already, it looks like that middle line is probably going to be the best place to be. You can see how shiny that inside line is down at the apex. Going to be hard to find grip and speed and that tight inside line, but it is shorter, so who knows? Only the drivers will be able to feel it out best. We can just watch and observe. I love that. This is on the dash of Billy Northcutt. Obviously has someone special taped to that dashboard. That is a very nice touch. I don't think I've ever seen that done here in iRacing.
I've got to talk to Billy and figure out how he does that. That's a really nice trick there for him. But there you see the iRacing pace truck going through turn 3 right now. Billy going to take control of the field as it starts to peel off.
All right. What can the 00 do with J.R. Shepard to his outside? Waiting patiently. And the green flag is out, accelerating away. He gets a great jump. Shepard's going to have to cover off that inside line a little bit as Jason Best trying to duck underneath him. Can't get the speed down low, though. He falls back into third. To his high side, Brennan Myers almost able to get one to the outside of him, but the 47 covers him off. They all fan out through 3 and 4.
You see Northcutt and Morton there taking that low line through 3 and 4, and now Justin Morton able to pull up alongside Brennan Myers, making that charge that I thought he might have done. And here he's setting a move on to Jason Best in third already. Oh, but has to check up again. He had to do a similar thing on the last lap, so that's going to cost him a little bit of time down the backstretch.
Yeah, still going wheel to wheel with Myers to the high side in the number 25, the gray car that you see down low, the red, white, and black number 9 of Justin Morton is trying to keep himself in fourth just in case someone has a problem and he can sneak into the top 3. Again, those top 3 positions are the ones you want to be in because that will automatically advance you into the feature. Looks like a nose ahead this time out of turn 2 from Justin Morton. Has he got this done? It looks like he does. He can drift up high if he wants to. No, he's going to leave a lane.
I think that's a mistake from Justin. That's going to allow for Brendan Myers to fight back on him, and we've seen the checkups he had to do, riding that berm very hard down the inside. Really would be costing him some time, but he's got the space on Brendan if he just wants to make that slide up the track. Ooh, Justin catching a little bit of the berm in 3. That's going to cost him a few tenths as well.
Down to 2 to go, and Northcutt still our leader. As you can tell, a lot, or no changes rather, in our top 3. Billy Northcutt, J.R. Shepard, and Jason Best have been staying put, but another look to the inside. Morton really figuring out the shallow line as he's been running it quicker than any of the other drivers in this heat. Oh, but it looks like he clipped the berm.
Yeah, he clipped it really hard, and that's going to allow for Brendan Myers to fight back that momentum like we talked about early on. Great camera angle out the back of Jason Best's car as these drivers take the white flag. Morton is ahead. Oh, but the car starts to straighten out mid-corner, and that's going to allow for Brendan to get by him.
Meanwhile, up at the front, our leader, Billy Northcutt, is coming around turns 3 and 4. He took the pole, and he's going to finish it in the same position. Win for Heat 1 will be Billy Northcutt, with J.R. Shepard in second and Jason Best being the last to advance. Brendan Myers, Justin Morton, and Ryan Sineker will have to go to the consolation race.
Yeah, that's going to be a little bit of a tough pill to swallow for some of those guys, but really good battles there between Justin and Brennan there. So a little bit of preview of the side-by-side wheel-to-wheel that we can expect later on in the night.
That brings us to heat number 2. Robbie Robinson will be on the pole for this one. The outside of the front row has Chris Davis there. Then the end of the first half will be Ron Snyder.
Gary Clinton is going to be lining up to the outside of him, and making up the back row will be Chris Hazlip and Todd Hetherington.
And everybody out there very quickly this time as the pace truck is going to lead them away. And seems like Chris Davis has something against green cones as he intentionally goes out of his way to flick that thing out into the middle of the track. Of course, the virtual marshal is very good about replacing those rather quickly, so no need to worry about that being a problem. By the way, I hate to ruin the magic for you, DJ. I can tell you how he managed to get someone, how we had our pole sitter last time get someone on the dash of the car. You just go into the paint, into Photoshop or GIMP or whatever, and you put it in the the paint scheme that you've done for the car, as you can paint the inside.
Never peer behind the curtain, Joe. It makes everything much less magical.
Always, always. All right, we're on our second pace lap, and Chris Davis on the outside is going to have Robbie Robinson trying to jump him, but it might not be the 56 that he's as worried about. Last time we saw Ron, the third place car, managed to get a nose in. Ron Snyder could have a good chance, especially if he's able to run it like we saw Justin Morton do, with the bottom line giving a little bit of something for some drivers. It all depends on who's got the skill to use that slippery line. Here we come out of 4. Wait for the green. Robinson sees it. Oh, and a very good start for Chris Davis. He is going to try and challenge the long way around, going way up high. He might have the momentum, and indeed, the number 7 is going to take the lead away on the first lap.
Yeah, Robinson caught way too much of that berm there, and that just allowed for Davis to power on by. Looks like that outside line working very, very well. As Gary Clinton gets up into the back of the wall there, that's going to cost him a couple of tenths as he comes around. But Ron Snyder now starting to challenge Robbie Robinson for that second place.
Indeed, and Hazlip now goes into 4th because of the slip-up. Gary Clinton hitting that wall gets slotted back into 5th position. Top 3 are well clear. We're getting the field split in half here. We've already completed lap 2. Your drivers advancing at this point will be Davis, Robinson, and Snyder. Way down to the inside once more. Robinson taking the Morton line.
He's taking the Morton line and getting very, very friendly with that inside berm, and that's going to allow for Ron Snyder to keep the momentum down on the high side. Robbie Robinson thinking a little bit better of that decision through 3 and 4, decides to stick on the high line as well, but that momentum is going to go to Ron Snyder, so move him up into 2nd. But Robinson challenging again, trying to get that car all the way through the slick. He gets a much better run of it, though.
He's making it a fight, that's for sure, but it looks like despite starting on pole position, the 56 is going to be finishing in 3rd. And even though he will automatically advance, this will cost him a number of starting spots in the feature. Oh, a little bit of contact between himself and Schneider. He clearly wants it back.
Clearly wants it back, fighting back for the inside line. He's going to try to squeeze Snyder ever so slightly. They're going to be tooth and nail coming out of the corner, but you saw a little bit of the slip from the car. Robinson putting the power down on a little bit of area of slick rubbered-in track, and it not working out perfectly for him. Meanwhile, though, Chris Davis just continues to pull away as these two battle with ticking down with the white flag flying.
The one hoping they keep fighting hard is Hazlett behind, and they make a little bit more contact. There's the slide job that you talked about earlier. Robinson managing to get in front of the 29, giving himself a few more spots on the restart if he can hold on to it. But our leader in the number 7 on screen, the yellow and black car, is going to win in our second heat. It'll be Robinson who comes out ahead with second place. Schneider, the last to advance. Hazlett, Clinton, and Hetherington will not automatically go to the feature. They'll have to head off to the consolation race. That'll take us now to Heat 3 as well. For this one, it is Brandon Proudfoot starting on the pole and John Wilson starting in second. Bobby Hayes will be third. We've only got 2 more cars, DJ.
Yeah, and those 2 cars are going to be Jason Menda and Joe Segala lining up in 4th and 5th.
All right, all 5 of them already out there. And okay, I'm missing a joke here with Bobby Hayes. Okay, I get it now. This is a spoof of the Fistful of Bourbon car. I'm taking Bobby Hayes is not quite 21 yet.
Either that or just wanted a cheap shot at Brandon Proudfoot and his teammate, Bobby Rafferty. I love that paint scheme. Nothing's better than a little tongue-in-cheek.
I love it when drivers are able to rib each other a little bit, especially when it's not on the track. It's those little nods, those subtle sort of passive-aggressive jabs at one another. As we come around to start our second pace lap behind the truck. As again, it was a slightly small field today, so this is our final heat that we are running. We typically see 4 of them, maybe sometimes even 5 in this series, but we won't have that many this time through. Currently waiting on them to give control, of course, to Brandon Proudfoot, who didn't quite qualify maybe where he wanted to, but again, can't count him out when we get to the feature, which is going to have many more laps to try and get to that top spot. And don't forget that the track will continue to evolve. It is not re-wetted between any of the heats or the main races. Looks like the green flag is out. Very good start from the 22 of Proudfoot down to the inside of Wilson. Bobby Hayes has a chance to sneak into second place. He's going to have to withstand the rubbered-in line, and it's looking good so far. It's a drag race off the corner with the advantage going to Wilson for now.
It was, but Hayes doing a really good job of keeping that power down. But those two battling there, allowing for Menda and Segala to keep very, very close behind them. Once again, Bobby Hayes having the advantage off the corner, but John Wilson really able to fly back. There's that slide job. Ooh, big check up behind.
Oh, and a big problem is over the burn. We got our first flyer. That's Menda, who goes up into the air. Segala joined him a little bit, but not quite to the degree. Meanwhile, our top 3 are absolutely running away with it. Wilson does have second place. Bobby Hayes in behind him. Taps the wall a little bit down the front stretch. Way up to the wall. Look at how much this track has evolved. This heat is very different from the first one, which was running the midline. The 22 is almost up to the Armco.
Yeah, he's really riding that high line, just thinking that's where it is. And you can see the cushion really starting to develop up there. Looking at the different lines that these guys take through the corners and how it is helping them. John Wilson really hassling Brandon Proudfoot here as we take down with 3 laps to go. Wilson setting fastest lap after fastest lap, getting right up behind the rear bumper of that number 22.
Interesting different lines between them. Wilson very much diamonding off the exit of the corners, taking it down shallow. At least he did before. This time he's letting it drift up, maybe trying something different. Neither one giving him much inroads on Brandon Proudfoot. And now he's just following Brandon around, seeing if he can run a similar line to him. 2 to go, and Proudfoot is looking good for another heat win.
He is, and Joe, I think you hit the nail on the head with John Wilson. If you are in this position, you are pretty confident in your advance, you can really take this time to just do some reconnaissance, figure out how your car is performing and what the drivers ahead of you are doing. That may give him some very good information when we get into the finale.
Still very tight between himself and the 13. Bobby Hayes making sure that he is paying attention up there so that he doesn't lose a position. But Brandon Proudfoot is going to take yet another heat win in the number 22 for the final heat of today at Knoxville. John Wilson second, Bobby Hayes third. It looks like Segala and Menda are now going to be sent off to the consolation race, which we'll see here in just a moment.
We'll jump into that. Very unfortunate for Segala and Menda, both sort of taking a lovely little Star Wars jump over the berm in perfect unison, I may add. But as now we get ready to grid up for this B main event, this is going to be the last time these cars are turned in a race before we get to the feature.
Indeed, and there are 8 of them in the consolation. Brennan Myers starts out on the pole with Chris Haslip in the second spot. Joe Segala P3 with Justin Morton starting in 4th. Then we have DJ with the second half.
That is going to be Gary Clinton, followed by Jason Menda, and Ryan Seneca lining up in 7th, followed by Todd Hetherington in 8th.
All right. We take off behind the pace truck. I'm a bit surprised, actually, that we've only had one driver go up and over the berm at this point. Every race that I've covered here before, we get a number of people who climb all over that thing and find themselves going where they don't want to.
It's a very, very easy thing to do, Joe. When you're coming around, you're trying to take these corners very tightly. You'll lose a lot of grip with the rear tires off into the gray like that. It is so easy to just step a mere inch of the tire onto the berm. And once you do that, these cars, we've seen them do it on walls. They will just absolutely climb the berm and want to take off flying.
Well, we could still get some more of them, as we not only have this 10-lap consolation race, we have the 40-lap feature coming up in a few moments' time on top of that. Let's see who can set themselves up best for the feature race by winning in the consolation. So we wait for the pace truck to give way. Down into the pit lane it goes. Ooh, and a very late start for Haslip as Brennan Myers is off and ahead. Justin Morton might even get into second place here. He's got a nose ahead and he's way up high, which has been the desired line in the last heat race. Oh, slipping up. The number 73 gets into Joe Segala and he gets another ride down into the barrier.
Oh, poor Joe Segala. And Joe, that was all really caused by him riding up on the berm. That's what happened to Haslip. He caught his 2 left tires on it and got onto it. But now we're going to focus back up front as Justin Morton putting on a real good battle here with Brennan Myers, but Morton falling foul of that berm as well.
Behind them, Jason Menda trying to play catch up. And then let's not forget about Chris Haslip, who started on the front row and is now down in 4th. Again, he will go through his hard into the wall. Clinton gets a piece from, that was Hetherington, who unfortunately glitches into the barrier. He is stuck, so we'll have to go back to him a little bit later. That will cause him to have to get a tow.
And back up front, Joe, this battle really heating up. Justin Morton setting the fastest lap time last time, able to get a nose ahead off the corner. They are going to be side by side crossing the line. Morton to the low side, Myers to the high side.
Wow, Morton really does love this low line. We saw him do this in the heat race. Granted, it didn't get him through into the feature, but it could give him the consolation win. See, he's got a nose ahead once again. Man, car absolutely bouncing off of that inside berm. He is climbing almost completely on top of it, but it is fair game, and he's making good use of it.
He is, but you can see that momentum for Myers on the outside, just how much keeping that speed up around the corner, like I talked about, Joe, at the top. Running that low line, you have to slow the car and get it sped back up. You run the high line, it's a longer way around the track, but your speed is up the entire time. Looks like Morton's really struggling here through 1 and 2 to get that speed back up, but has a much better exit off of 3 and 4.
Brendan Myers not giving up either. The 25 going to get back ahead briefly down the backstretch. Still using the very high line all the way up to the Armco barrier. It might be a case of just who gets to the line first between them if they continue to go wheel to wheel. But now the number 9 is fully ahead. Does he finally drift up, or does he stick with what's been working?
If I'm Justin Morton, Joe, I'm not changing anything. I'm going to stick with the horse that brung you. So there you see didn't have the best exit off of 2, but still able to keep ahead of Brendan Myers as he's going for this slide. Little bit of a move up through the corner, but able to get it there. Myers, however, countering, running a little bit of a lower line through 3 and 4, goes back up to the super high line. 2 laps to go. These guys are battling very, very closely.
Justin Morton, I think, is hitting the inside berm on the entry to 3 so much. I'm starting to see it shine a little bit. He's making it slick up there, which is incredible. As he comes around, they're going to be 2 to go. They're a lot more dead even this time, but the 25 will lead that lap. Who can accelerate off the final corner better? They've had all the practice they need this entire 10-lap race. This time, the 25 looking strong coming down the backstretch. Justin Morton actually fully behind him on the entry into 3. Tries to use that extra bit of track as much as he can. Still running the low line. This time as he comes across, it looks like the first one there is once again Brendan Myers, but the white flag is out. Justin Morton, looking to take the consolation win, is trying everything he can, being the only man to run low successfully so far tonight. Down into 3 and 4. Is he going to pull the slide job? He's trying to pull the slide job. He goes back up high, but underneath, Brendan Myers goes right underneath him. The 25 is going to easily take the win on that. The 9 of Justin Morton in second. And it looks like Chris Haslip will be in third, with Jason Menda 4th, Seneker 5th, Clinton 6th, Segala 7th, and Hetherington finishing 8th.
Oh, absolutely incredible race-long battle there between Morton and Myers. Hopefully that is a sign of things to come as we get ready for the A main. Now, obviously 5 minutes of practice here. All drivers can go out onto the track, get a sense of what the track is doing. So this is very important reconnaissance time for all drivers.
What I really like about that is we're seeing that side-by-side racing is absolutely possible today, especially compared to what we saw at Weed Sport with how narrow it was around most of that track. It seems like drivers are able to run multiple lines, at least a few of them are, and try and challenge. And it's not a case of just making desperate moves. I mean, he held that for almost the entire race, DJ.
He certainly did, and he's just got the whisper. Like I said, it's very reminiscent of Proudfoot last year running the low line. I believe it was here at Knoxville, the only one to really be able to do it. So that's going to be something to really keep an eye on, as somebody has that sense for the low line. Now, what's going to be interesting to watch these guys as they go out. Obviously, the track does not reset here, and if I'm Justin Morton, I know what the low line does. So I'm not going to run it because I don't want to rubber it in anymore, and I want to give myself as much of the low line to run on as humanly possible during the course of the actual race.
There is Morton right now. Is he even out there? Yes, he is. And it does look like he is running up high. Yeah, you're right. So great call on that. He's just all the way up there and experimenting with that, making sure that he doesn't put it in any lower than he needs to. In fact, he's going through all the gunk and dirt that is outside of the cushion. Now, does that play any sort of advantage for him? Or is there any method to his madness there?
There could be a little bit of gamesmanship going on there, Joe, as he is just running that line, maybe trying to deteriorate it a little bit for the drivers who are trying to run that high side. So that could be a very, very heads-up play. If Justin's able to get himself all the way up to a podium, we'll have to ask him about it after the race.
Very interesting to see him running past where the cushion has gone up there for sure. In the warm-up, though, I tell you what, Brandon Proudfoot is definitely looking like a serious rival for Northcutt. He's less than a 10th off of him here in the warm-up laps. So Brandon Proudfoot, who has won the first 2 feature races here in this season, does have his work cut out for him, and great to see the double lot take the fight to him. Question is, can he do it over the course of 40 laps?
Well, and Joe, one of the things that I'm watching is, yes, Billy is currently sitting at the top of the charts right now, but that looks like an absolute flyer of a lap. And in terms of consistency, Proudfoot is about a tenth faster on average than Northcutt. So if I'm Billy Northcutt, if I'm any of these other drivers, that scares me a little bit that Brandon Myers just has that in the bag.
That's a good point. So as we watch through the Armco, looking at them kicking up the dust here around Knoxville. They continue to circle on by. Of course, let's not forget one of the special things about this place. I mentioned it. It is considered the sprint car capital of the world. They, of course, have the Brian Clausen Museum dedicated to the late Brian Clausen. And the sprint car, it is the Sprint Car National Museum, holding lots and lots of awesome relics up there. One of these days, because I've made a number of trips through Iowa in the last few years myself, I need to stop by there when I get an opportunity and try and go look at it in person. So we see Northcutt down there in his pink and green car, a new paint scheme that he's got today. I know you were making note of that earlier, DJ.
It is a very, very bright and easy to tell paint scheme from Billy. So I'm personally a big fan of it. And the one thing I wanted to make mention of very quickly, Joe, that we were talking about is the chase to the line. Now, all of these dirt tracks are different, obviously, that we run on in this Dirt Street Stock Series. But at Knoxville, the start-finish line is about dead even down the main straightaway. And so that really and truly will change how some of these drivers approach things. That's one of the reasons why Brendan Myers last time out was able to get that run and keep the power down on the outside. So that strategy is going to start playing in as we get into the dying stages of the race.
I can't help but think every time I look at that double lot, do you remember Bubblicious watermelon gum?
I do indeed.
Yeah, I can taste it looking at his car. And I know that's not what he has on the car, but man, it is just bringing back memories from childhood right now as we finish up our warm-up and get ready for our 2 pace laps before we have 40 laps of feature racing here in round 3 of the Bootleg Racing League Dirt Street Stock Series. There we go. We now line them up here today for the finale. And it is going to be Billy Northcutt who starts it on the pole. Chris Davis will start second next to him, with Brandon Proudfoot starting in third. J.R. Shepard good enough for fourth, with Robbie Robinson starting in fifth and John Wilson starting in the 6th position. Then it is Jason Best in 7th, Ron Snyder in 8th, and Bobby Hayes in 9th. 10th is rounded out by Brennan Myers.
Justin Morton will be lining up 11th. He'll be one to watch to see if he can continue to make that inside line work, and flanking him in the 12th position will be Chris Hazlett. Following them will be Jason Menda and Ryan Seneker. Gary Clinton and Joe Segala will take places 15 and 16, and bringing up the back of the field in 17th will be Todd Hetherington.
As the fireworks go off here at Knoxville, making sure that the virtual fans have plenty to look at as the cars trundle around. Don't quite have a 4-wide salute today for this one. And Billy Northcutt is going to start it on the pole, of course. So they come around after that first lap. So far, most of our leaders have had a decent start, but not everybody. So who has learned from our heat races and our consolation? Who has managed to figure out how to keep the wheels from spinning too much as they take off on the dirt?
It's going to be something to watch, Joe. And I think the other thing to keep in mind here is, obviously we've seen the outside lane being the preferred lane. So maybe guys like Davis and Shepard may have a little bit of an advantage here as they start to get the power on. We'll have to see what Brandon Proudfoot can do from that 3rd place position. Will he want to move up to the outside, or is he going to be pigeonholed down to the inside?
That's a good question. A lot more cars on track 2, so the evolving of the track is going to be incredibly rapid compared to what they've been used to so far tonight. Everybody's going to have to be on their toes, and Northcutt is absolutely on his toes. Green flag is out. He is well away. Proudfoot follows him down the inside into hopefully 2nd place for him. Davis going to try and deny him of that. He looks for the shot off the corner. He carries the momentum, gets a little bit interrupted by the 22. They're going to continue side by side.
Absolutely mega run there for Chris Davis, carrying all of that speed. Northcutt and Proudfoot to the bottom, getting very close to one another.
Almost tipped him around. 22 bailed out of it, though. They all come through, but it looks like Proudfoot now definitely has that second place ahead of Chris Davis. J.R. Shepard running in fourth, 3 wide behind them in the mid-pack as Wilson and Morton find themselves falling backwards on the bottom.
Yeah, Justin Morton still running that low line. You can see him there flicking into the back of your screen, but up front, Chris Davis getting very, very close to Brandon Proudfoot. Proudfoot taking a little bit of a compromised slider line, taking that car to the outside, trying to keep the momentum up, but Chris Davis dynamiting off the corner very well and not letting that 22 slip away at all.
Now he goes high. Chris Davis, is he going to cut down? He's trying for it. But the momentum of these big, heavy tanks of cars just doesn't seem to lend itself well to that attempt. Another sending it in of the 22 just flicks that car up into 1 and 2 and lets it drift high. It's working out well so far.
It is, and it's interesting. Ooh, as Davis almost gets into the back of Proudfoot there. I think it squirrels up Davis a little bit more than it did Proudfoot. Proudfoot almost gets into the back of Billy Northcutt. So these guys very, very close up front. And now we see the separation. That is Proudfoot up to the super high line that we saw him running a little bit earlier. Look at that momentum off, able to pull away from Chris Davis and close into Billy Northcutt.
Wow, and he's going to try it again. Oh, right up to the wall. How did he not scrape the Armco there? Just as high as he can take that 22. It is working fantastically. Despite the 7 getting inside of him by quite a degree, that 22 is off the corner like a bullet, and now here comes J.R. Shepard getting into the mix. Here we go. The 22's got a fantastic run on the double lot. Northcutt switches with him. He goes up high as Proudfoot runs the bottom lane. Can he get it done? Will he have enough speed? It almost looks like he might have it.
He's got a nose at the line, Joe, but he's got to do it all again. Oh, Northcutt gets into the wall ever so slightly. That's Proudfoot drifting up to try to cover him off, but Northcutt's going to have a little bit of momentum that's going to be blunted. Proudfoot now firmly into first place. And here comes Chris Davis down on the inside of Billy Northcutt trying to do the same thing that we saw Brandon Proudfoot do. He drifts up the track there, barely not going to make contact.
Northcutt finding momentum, but he runs out of it, gives a nudge to the 22. Both of them riding the rim of this thing as the 7 keeps down low, hoping that he can snatch something from the dangerous game that our top 2 are playing. And so is the likes of J.R. Shepard. He's down in the middle line as our top 2. Once again, up high through 3 and 4. It's working out, but not completely. Northcutt suddenly has the 7 inside of him.
And there goes Davis back to the inside, trying to make it work. He doesn't want to catch too much of the burn. Oh, but he does. He almost lifts the car off the ground. Costs him all kinds of time there.
Things are spicy here, and we aren't even halfway through the race. He abandons it. Davis decides that high line working a lot better, and he joins both Northcutt and Proudfoot running up against the outside wall. Looks like J.R. Shepard's not going to abandon it as we ride on board with him. He seems to think there's still something left in that bottom line. So does Justin Morton, who's back in 5th. And he's been in a fight with Robbie Robinson as we've been watching this top spot.
Yeah, Morton's really been carving his way up through the field there. You see J.R. Shepard trying to make it work. Joe, that lower line not working great for Shepard. You saw that massive amount of counter steer he had to put in the car coming off of turn 2. That really, really cost him some time. But now we're working on lap 11. These 3 leaders out in front, about a car length separating each of them individually. Everybody running the high line now. Nobody wanting to dare to go to the bottom.
Except for Morton. He's still on there. The number 9 somehow is able to keep the car tight and in. And this is fixed setup, so there's no real secret in that. It's just all in how he's driving it. He's continuing to have to fend off Robbie Robinson, who might be costing him time. If he could maybe drift all the way up high, he could perhaps be a little bit faster. As we watch those top drivers ahead of them, almost look like Davis maybe caught the wall a little bit on the entry.
Joe Davis caught it big time, pulled all 3 tires off of the ground. So big contact there for Chris Davis. That cost him a whole bunch of time. But up front, Billy Northcutt starting to put the pressure onto Brandon Proudfoot. Davis, after that mistake, goes back down to a slider line, seeing if that can work for him.
Northcutt's starting to experiment. So is Davis. They got to go somewhere where the 22 is not if they want to make the overtake. But look at that. Proudfoot saw it last time and immediately cuts down to almost the exact same line as Northcutt.
Brandon Proudfoot using all of the track and all of his brain here to just keep Billy Northcutt at bay. But Northcutt trying to get as much of a charge as he can. We tick down, working lap 15 here, so 25 to go. Still plenty of time for all of these drivers to make their move. Northcutt cuts down to the inside, trying to get something. They are about a car length apart as they go into 3.
Just about to the halfway point now. No cautions yet. Everybody's been running fantastic here as we hop on board with Northcutt. Both of them sending the cars in. And once again, Northcutt trying to get it down low, but so is the 22, just planting that rear bumper right in his windscreen.
Amazing defensive driving from Brandon Proudfoot, just not getting Billy Northcutt any time of day, but Northcutt goes super low there off the line. That helped him draw up a little bit closer. Let's see if he continues to do that sort of crossover route, looking like it worked. He does it again. Proudfoot tries to duck down to cover him, but Northcutt lost a little bit of time there.
Still plenty of chances to try and make something happen. These two are stretching away. If our viewers haven't noticed, Chris Davis is a whole 7/10 behind and hasn't been fighting with him. They just seem to have much better pace here late in this event. In fact, I almost wonder if Davis will be under threat from both Shepard and Morton pretty soon. Morton's finally finished up his battle with Robbie Robinson.
Morton has done that, and as we jump back to him, he goes to the high side, makes massive contact with the wall. I was about to say he was going to close in on J.R. Shepard here, but that contact's really going to hurt him if I'm Justin Morton. Yep, there he goes, right back to that preferred line, that inside line that has been working so wonderfully for the number 9 here tonight.
Shepard actually gets underneath the 7 for a brief moment through 1 and 2. So he's starting to try and actually get the overtake done on Chris Davis. Is Davis paying attention, or is he even watching up ahead instead of in his mirrors? Off of that last corner, Shepard can't get the overlap down into 1 and 2, but it's starting to look like a matter of time.
It certainly is, and Justin Morton is caught right back up behind them as well, about a car and a half length from Shepard to Davis, and about the same back to Justin Morton. Morton going to experiment a little bit, go back out on the high side. There you see Davis sliding up the track, Shepard keeping it nice and low. He's able to draw level at the outside of the corner, but barely misses contact for J.R. Shepard, but he's going to try to push his luck here.
That was very good knowledge from the 98's part to know exactly where Chris Davis was going to be and not run into him. Great momentum off the corner for the number 9, J.R. Shepard. Yeah, well, if Morton keeps doing this, then he could actually try something on Shepard if he loses too much momentum. But no, Shepard manages to run it off quickly enough. Still leaves a little bit of a door open as Morton tries to look underneath, sliding up the corner. J.R. Shepard, unfortunately, almost bangs wheels with Chris Davis. They are side by side at this point. Where does Justin Morton go? Both the desirable lanes are taken.
They are, and Robbie Robinson also able to stick his nose into this battle if he wants it. He's just sitting back in that popcorn position watching it out. Morton takes a little bit of a higher line there through the middle of the corner, costs him the time. Oh, and Chris Davis is boxed in by Justin Morton, but able to get around, dive back to the inside line. Good crossover there for Davis. He's going to throw a slider on J.R. Shepard, but Shepard looks to the inside for the crossover. Does he have the momentum to make it work? He squeezes Davis a little bit off the corner. It's going to be a drag race. Shepard has it to the line. This battle is nowhere near done.
Shepard on the inside, Davis to the high side, but 3 wide. Look at the number 9. Here comes Justin Morton. He's going to try and stick his nose in, and he runs out of room. Once again, Chris Davis is where he wants to be. Both of them trying to work the bottom line as J.R. Shepard tries to join Davis down towards the berm. Oh, and It looks like a bit of a clip is going to cause him to fall back, but we got to go up to the front because Northcutt is now trying similar things on Proudfoot.
This race just developing spectacularly here. Everybody trying to do what they can to get around. You saw Billy Northcutt trying to dive down to the inside on Brandon Proudfoot and make that work. Wasn't as successful as we've seen some of the other guys, but he's going to try it again here.
Not quite going to work out. Once again, they fan out as 3 wide behind him. Chris Davis has just absolutely chucking it in. Gonna try and thread the needle. Oh, and Justin Morton has to back out. Not enough guts to finish that one up. Robinson underneath him is going to snatch 5th away from him.
I thought for a second that was going to end in a disaster. And Joe, I think Brandon Proudfoot's had a problem. Billy Northcutt is around him for the lead.
Holy cow. And, oh, you know what? If we get a quick replay, the 22 slammed into the outside wall in turn 3. He just sent it way too high into there, and that cost him.
Oh, there you can see it. That big wall ride from Brandon Proudfoot really hurting him there. That gap now out to about 0.4 of a second. You can ride on board, flirting with disaster there. Oh, very tough for Brandon Proudfoot. And I can report that the same thing has just happened to Justin Morton. He got into the wall big time. He's fallen all the way back to 8th place.
We got a caution. Brennan Myers and Chris Hazlip apparently involved in it. I'm trying to see if anybody else caught a piece, and I think indeed Jason Menda is going to get a thwack. Yeah, this will happen in 3 and 4. You're going to see it coming up here.
You see there, Myers getting a little squirrely off the line, getting a little too friendly with the berm, makes contact with the outside wall that starts to rotate the car. He is just spinning. Hazlip does not anticipate how bad it's going to be in 1, 2, 3 like dominoes. They all get into each other.
Thankfully, that damage I don't think is enough to really cost anybody the race here. I think they should be able to continue on. And indeed, nobody has come into the pits of that trio. But, ooh, okay, now it gets interesting. Northcutt and Proudfoot have been fighting amongst each other for most of this race. Now, J.R. Shepard, who's gotten himself into 3rd, has that entire gap erased.
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm Billy Northcutt, I'm the one who is most furious at this caution, as I had a good 3 car length advantage over the rival of Brandon Proudfoot. And so that is going to be absolutely gone as well. This is going to get very close, and it's going to be a fantastic run to the end.
Very few laps to the finish on this one. In fact, they're going to have fewer than what they had in the consolation race. Less than 10 laps to sort this out. Northcutt looking like he might be the one to finally take it to Brandon Proudfoot and actually prove that he is human. The fact that he managed to make a mistake that could have cost the win is going to be a huge ego boost there for the double lot.
It is an interesting note here, Joe. Leader does have lane choice, and look at what Billy Northcutt is doing. He's choosing the outside lane.
All right, so he likes the high side, and the way it's been working, those two have been running it for much of this this race so far, even though they have dipped down low for part of it. But here we go. We're getting ready to restart after our first and only caution so far for round 3 in the Bootleg Racing League Dirt Street Stock Series. Northcutt waiting. Green flag is out. He's away. A decent start for Proudfoot. Can he send it in enough to try and take that top spot away? Oh, it's going to be tight. It's going to be who gets the better shot off the corner. They are almost neck and neck from there. Neither one really has a great big advantage. The 22 sticks with it. Behind them, same thing. Chris Davis and J.R. Shepard battling for 3rd.
Absolutely good wide side by side here, as there you see Northcutt getting the momentum as about as they cross the start finish line. Davis going to the high side, Shepard to the inside behind them. This is absolutely electric. Davis has so much momentum off those corners though, Joe.
That is going to get him that 3rd spot, at least temporarily. Shepard's going to try and come back to his inside as our top 2 are doing similar stuff. Northcutt still working the high side. He is working that wheel furiously, and that might be costing him time, because it looks like Proudfoot that time through had a nose ahead and into the wall hard. The double O goes over, and the race falls through his fingers. Billy Northcutt is suddenly on his roof.
Oh, he has been flirting with that wall this entire time, Joe, and it just caught him out at last. We jump back to the replay here. You can see it gets in. clicks the wall there a little bit through 3 and 4, and now he will bring it back up to the high side here again. Goes in, loses a little bit of it, and just catches that lip wrong.
This turned out to be the story all about how his life got turned upside down, and Billy Northcutt is now many laps down in this race. The double lot in pit lane waiting for the thing to be towed, and 15 are still running on the circuit. Well, this opens the door for J.R. Shepherd now. He hasn't looked like he necessarily had the pace completely, but again, we've seen him fighting with others, and that caused the gap. Can he, in these final few laps, try and challenge to take the win away from Proudfoot?
Well, in what lane is Proudfoot going to pick here, Joe? He was effective on both the high side and the low side over the course of this race. And what in turn is that going to do for Chris Davis behind one of the other drivers that we've seen have a lot of speed over the course of these 35 laps? So that's going to be what this comes down to. He's got to make the choice here as they come across the line to get the 1 to go signal.
Oh boy, very few laps to try and make this work. J.R. Shepherd, who is typically incredibly dominant on the pavement side, hasn't always shown himself to be a huge force here in the dirt, but steadily he's creeping forward and has been getting better and better results. The 98 could snatch this one away from the man to beat in both last season and this season. Doubled up. We are going to have 3 laps on this last shootout. Will we get another caution? Because there are no green-white checkers in this series, so they have got to do it clean. All right, 22 behind the pace truck, waits for him to disappear. There it goes. And he's away. He chose the bottom line. It seems to have worked out well. Proudfoot ahead of Shepherd. Chris Davis also hoping to spoil the party, and he might be able to. He's got a little bit of a nose ahead of the 98, but J.R. Shepherd keeps the momentum going. Those two are going to battle side by side as Proudfoot is going to take the 2 to go across the line.
And Davis making that low line work very, very well. But here comes Shepherd fighting back with some momentum as they cross the line. It looks like it's going to be Davis. 2 to go here. Both of them looking ahead at the 22 of Brandon Proudfoot. Can either of them close that gap?
This little quibble for second place is costing them. Davis and Shepherd slowing one another up as Proudfoot is able to run the optimal line. They come around turn 4 and take the white flag. Instead of a fight for the lead, it's for best of the rest. And the last lap will decide our podium order. How is it going to wind up? Once again, coming back at him, J.R. Shepherd trying to carry the momentum, but he doesn't have a nose ahead. Chris Davis on the inside, and with track position, Brandon Proudfoot, though, is going to take the victory here today for his 3rd in a row, and it's going to be Davis who takes 2nd ahead of Shepherd.
And lining up behind them will be Robbie Robinson and Jason Best to finish out your top 10 in what or top 5 rather. I have to say, Joe, an absolutely thriller of a race here at Virtual Knoxville Raceway.
Had just about everything. It had intense battles, it had tragedy, and it just gave us a whole lot of fun all around. We are going to come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews, but stick around because after this break, there's more to come. Welcome back to Knoxville Raceway. It was another win for Brandon Proudfoot, making him 3 for 3, with Chris Davis finishing second behind him, just ahead of J.R. Shepard. They fought all the way to the line from the last caution. Robbie Robinson finished fourth with Jason Best. Didn't really get to cover him. There was so much action up at the front, but he still got a top 5. And John Wilson finishing in sixth. Justin Morton, he still came forward. He went from 11th to 7th, but his speed didn't really seem to play out like we thought it would. And he didn't really factor into the win at all in the feature. Bobby Hayes was in 8th with Jason Minda in 9th and Ron Snyder rounding out your top 10.
In 11th was Todd Hetherington, followed by Joe Segala. Chris Hazelip able to bring the car home in 13th. Gary Clinton behind him in 14th. Brennan Myers in 15th after suffering that damage. And your early leader, Billy Northcutt, having that contact with the outside wall, coming home 16th. Ryan Seneker, obviously many laps down, coming in with significant damage early on.
Well, we have our winner ready to talk to us. The feature race victor here today is Brandon Proudfoot. Brandon, which makes you feel more proud? The fact that you managed a hat trick here, or that Mama is cheering you on in the comment section?
Oh, a little bit of both. It's the biggest support I got, and from day one when I decided to, I thought I was going to waste some money buying a sim rig and do it online to try and save some money, and it ended up being a somewhat long career now. I've been doing it ever since iRacing started doing their thing, but yeah, definitely good with the hat trick too.
Now, you certainly had some competition today. Billy Northcutt made you work hard for that one, and it wasn't mistake-free. In fact, you gave away the lead with a slap into the wall. Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, I've seen him take that slider to come up, and that top on entry, it was a very fine line. Both of us were running it pretty hard, and you can see there at the restart it bit him in the end. But yeah, I seen the slider coming, and I tried to crank the wheel left to do the undercut, and the car just pushed up into the wall, and just had to lift out of it, cut down like I normally would, and try to go right back after him.
We also saw a number of drivers manage to do pretty decently on the bottom line. You went down there a few times. What were your thoughts on trying to run that shallow part? Was it pretty viable, or do you think it just wasn't as good as it felt to others for you?
There at the end, I think it was definitely viable. Whenever I was running with him, it was just too close, and it was such a good race up there up top. I didn't want to take that chance, but after that restart, I went to the bottom, and ended up being about the same times as what the top was, but with that exception of the that outside wall being that risk. So about the same times, but with less risk.
Well, again, congratulations on the win, sir, and please feel free to thank any of your sponsors and give shout-outs on your way out.
Of course, Fistful of Bourbon, Winners Get Whiskey, baby. General Tire, Polaris RZR, Vision Wheel, Rigid Industries, Dirtfish, JSP XTV Axles, Gibson Performance Exhaust, Coronas, Sant Racing Fabrications, 07 Designs, Chris Leone Motorsport Drop. You guys doing the broadcast, all the guys over here doing the league, and obviously Mama downstairs, grand sister, girlfriend, and yeah, starting the season off with a hat trick.
Got to make sure get all those things in. That was Brandon Proudfoot who took the victory here today. And then up next, DJ has caught up with Chris Davis with second.
Chris, it seemed like you were in a battle for that entire race, either with J.R. Shepard or just anybody else around you. Talk us through what it's like to never have a let up there at all.
Well, running against Proudfoot is always going to be hard. If anybody watched the Jim Beaver Esports short truck racing last night, he went from the back all the way up to, I think he finished second or third. So he's going to be fast in any car he gets into. Billy Northcutt, I didn't have anything for him either tonight. It's unfortunate what happened to him. And you're right, I was battling. Every lap, I could use a paper towel to wipe the sweat off my forehead at this point.
It looked like you were making both the high and the low line work. Was there one you were preferring, or was it just sort of you got to take what comes at you?
Well, that's a good question because, J.R. Shepard, he was stellar on the bottom, and I couldn't match his speed on the bottom, so I really just had to run up top and wait and hope that it would come in. And finally, I just started sending it, and hoping I wasn't going to wreck. And it would come off the top, and I would get a run on him down the straightaways, and it worked out. And then the way the caution came out after Billy's wreck, it worked out for me, and I was able to hold the bottom and hold him off.
I mean, it was certainly thrilling as all get out to watch. Well, next week we head to a similarly wide track, but a little bit of a different confines. Actually, my home track of Kokomo. How do you like your chances there?
Well, I love Kokomo for a couple of reasons. I actually grew up with the Clausen family out in Northern California. So Brian Clausen, he was just lights out at Kokomo in real life racing. So that'll be nice to go back to. I'm better on the shorter tracks than some of these longer tracks. So I look forward to it.
Well, we look forward to it as well, Chris. Always good to see you there. Always good to see you on the podium. Anybody you need to thank before we let you go tonight?
Yeah, if I could, I want to make a big shout out to my wife's Aunt Lorraine. Watching tonight. If you may have seen a new label on my car, I was proud to be recruited by Lone Star Racing, an esports team out of Texas. We do a lot of charity events. That's what that group is all about. So if you look up Lone Star Racing, you'll see some of the money that we're trying to raise for a lot of really good causes. And the last thing that I have to say is if you can be anything in life, be kind. See you guys next week.
Love that, Chris. Thank you very much. And now Joe Peak has caught up with our third place driver, J.R. Shepard.
JR, you suddenly came to the fore there at the end. If you didn't have to battle with Chris, do you think you maybe could have beat Brandon today?
Yeah, I don't know about that one. Brandon's normally the class of the field, and Billy Northcutt's come in and been right there with him. So those two are definitely extremely hard to beat. But yeah, I felt like my speed was decent to where I could at least keep them in sight, and didn't want to see that one caution come out. But in the end, I probably finished where I was going to.
Now, Brandon was saying he didn't really feel as confident on the bottom side there and preferred to stick up to the top, but you were down there a lot today. What was the trick that you figured out making that work?
Driving it like an asphalt car more than anything. It's I like when the track slicks off, and I'm typically a bottom feeder most of the time in dirt, so it just seemed to play into my driving style tonight, and that's where I wanted to be. So that last restart wasn't what I was looking for.
And then we talked to Chris a little bit about it as well, that up next we're heading to Kokomo. Now that one, a very flat track except for the very outside. So that's going to make it certainly an interesting dynamic with your bottom feeder style. Have any thoughts heading over there?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great track. It's a little tricky, but hopefully we'll get two grooves that come in, so you can have guys that run up against the wall, but guys that run toward the inside too. And if that happens, we'll have a great race. But you know, we'll have to see which line's faster. If the top's faster, I'll have to go up there too.
All right. Well, best of luck to you when we head over to Indiana. And again, congratulations on a podium.
I appreciate it. And hey, I want to give a shout out to the Western PA iRacing group. We're running the 24 Hours of Daytona tonight, so looking forward to that.
All right. Best of luck there as well. That was J.R. Shepard, third place, and that's going to end our interviews. So a big thank you goes out to the Bootleg Racing League, who brought us back for another season of coverage of great stuff here at the Dirt Street Stock Series. But also, we want to thank the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast that we've listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. Her Bandcamp, where you can find more of that music, is there on the bottom. And thanks to the team today, DJ, Sean, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including our upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Also, check out our social media, which includes Twitter at GSR Channel, Facebook at Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support us, we've got a merchandise store at gsrc.storenvy.com. And you can just click on the link in the description below if you don't want to type that in. But make sure and subscribe while you're down there so you don't miss a moment here on GSRC's YouTube channel. The next race, as we mentioned, will be Kokomo. That'll be Friday, January 29th at 8 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.